It has been a hot minute since my last upload, and I'm terribly sorry for that. I took a May break for the test period, and then holidays started, and I just kind of... You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm back, ready to create and ready to record. And this video is a project I actually started all the way back in 2021. I always had a sweet spot for Space Marines. Actually, the first miniature of Warhammer that I painted was a Space Marine, and it was also an Ultramarine. So that was the only army I was prepared to collect. Back then I got really inspired by a specific army from Parallel Tabletop, and it was the Space Wolves from the Space Wolves vs. Tau Underwater Battle. I love the paint scheme and the lore behind them. So when, for Christmas, I got the first Space Wolves Combat Patrol, I tried to recreate it, and failed miserably. My army design has actually gone through multiple stages. It was first the black and yellow combination that Nick Growlwich had in his army. Then I found Thunderwolfen on Instagram and picked up his beige and white and red combination from his Soul Hunters. Then I changed the color of the armor slightly to be more beige and less grey, and I loved it. Then I painted a whole squad with it and I hated it. So then, after months and months of trial and error, I came up with a paint scheme that I loved. Now, one thing that I must say, and it's really important, is that I couldn't feel my army until I started writing lore for it. Until I started writing lore for it, I was just walking in the dark, blind. Because my army had no story behind it, no base, just an idea. But as soon as I started taking it seriously and writing lore for it, it completely changed, and my army got a purpose. And that's when I settled on the final design, which you're gonna see in the making right now. Savaron Immensus, the great striker of Space Wolves, was laying still on the ground. He was heavily wounded and couldn't move. Anger was almost pouring out of him as he was abandoned by his own chapter, the Space Wolves, who were just assuming he was dead, not even bothering to send scouts and checking if there are still any wounded survivors. Eventually, Savaron healed himself and managed to use one of the half-broken capsules to eject himself to the main planet. There he found the planet populated with a human race, peaceful people who knew absolutely nothing about outside space. But they had a great power, one that the greatest strikers among legions would betray and kill to possess. Savaron dove deep into it and studied it for decades. After almost 90 years, a group of young space wolves managed to steal one of the ships and fly to the planet Pontis to take care of the fallen space marines. They weren't allowed to do it, but did it anyway. Because they knew how precious a sacrifice of a space marine is, and thought that every space marine should be respectfully buried. When they arrived there, they took care of the fallen brothers first, but then found someone who they didn't expect. Savaron Immensus returned to Terra and stepped out of the Space Wolves chapter. After a couple of years, he was allowed to create his own chapter and claimed Pontis as their homeworld. And that was the beginning of History of the Forgotten. And how was that? Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Forgotten. They're a passion project of mine, and I would really appreciate some feedback in the comment section. What do you like? What do you hate? What would you like to change both in lore and appearance? I'm all for it. Tell me down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider supporting me with a like and a sub. It helps my channel grow and reach to more people. Otherwise, that's all, and until next time, have a good one, everyone.